I remember at a young age, I actually went to church just because I found something there. And it wasn't the religion, but I did find a connection there. God. And I bought a cross and my dad almost disowned me. No, for real. And I was like, and I couldn't quite understand. And then I got into the mindset of like, okay, but we're just one. Like, this is all about love. This is like, why is
Yeah.
there where I try to understand the divides? And so as I wear my cross, I might have people freak out because they don't understand. And I'm like, but I'm not religious. I think
Yeah.
in all these different religions, we're searching for the same damn thing.
Bad decisions, bad decisions, bad decisions.
Welcome back to the Bad Decisions podcast, where we lead not with celebrity, but with story. Today's story belongs to Eden Sassoon, who I met in my first week in Los Angeles back in 1994. She's the daughter of a legend, but very much her own woman. Her father, Vidal Sassoon, changed beauty forever, giving women freedom through a pair of scissors. But legacy doesn't shield you from pain or from bad decisions. Eden grew up in privilege and in chaos, in a family that defined style yet struggled quietly with loss and addiction. She's faced the heartbreak of losing her sister Katya, the battles of her own sobriety, and the lifelong challenge of stepping out of a last name that everyone knows and to make her own name. She's been a reality star, a businesswoman, a daughter, a survivor. And through it all, she's learned through reinvention that it doesn't start in the mirror, it starts in the soul. Welcome, Eden Sassoon.
Ugh. I don't know whether to cry or tell you I love you or laugh. All of the above. How about that? Hi.
Look, it's all real. We've all been through it all. You don't get to be our age without going through some stuff, right?
No, and we forgot one thing. My brother David just overdosed a year ago, September, and died.
I didn't know that.
That's
Oh,
okay, my love. But you know what? It's life, and these things really. Oh, I'm looking at a picture of him right now. Hi, Dave. Yeah, it happens, and the gift of desperation and sobriety is such a gift. So clearly, some people just don't get it.
yeah. Well, in that case, let's start at the beginning. Tell me some of your earliest family members. Tell me your earliest family memories.
My memories, because of recovery, like I think everyone's like, "What's your happy memory?" I'm like, "Happy? What do you mean happy? What does that mean?" I can't quite figure out happy. I remember wanting to feel safe. Not that anyone was making me feel unsafe, but there was just a lot of people all the time everywhere, and I couldn't regulate. I didn't know how I should feel or where I could find that sense of stillness. So, I mean, I kind of remember, when we were all together, there was a bunch of kids, right? There's four kids, and each kid had a ton of friends, right? And we had these large houses that had very big playrooms. And so they'd stick us all in these playrooms. And I was the youngest. So my two brothers and my oldest sister, like there was all these big kids, and people were climbing like the walls of the cupboards and getting on top, and we'd put pillow forts, and everyone was diving off, and just like chaos and fun and crazy. And I think the community within like the big kids, until their lives started getting, they were teens and started finding drugs and alcohol themselves. Prior to that, like it was really fun. It was fun. And I do, you know what, I have to take it back. My nanny, um because in those days, my mother's a recovering alcoholic, so you asked early memories. So in those days, like I would find my nanny and she would wrap me in her arms and she would just make me feel safe. And that, felt really, 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 really good. Thank God for her.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's important. I mean, to me, that part of the childhood sounds the same as everyone else's, just maybe on a grander scale with some bigger names. But we're just kids being kids, and
Right?
jumping back, we all tend to only know our own frame of reference because it's all we know. At what age did you
Mm.
begin to understand your father's largesse in the world?
I think I always knew because of everything was kind of so big and people were coming up on the streets and everyone wanting pictures. And I was just like, oh, I would be the light and be nice and help where I could. Um, but it wasn't really, and this is going to sound really, really awkward. Until he passed that I got to realize, see things from a total different perspective. Because he was still always just dad, you know? I mean, and he still is just dad. But I didn't see the imprint he made and left to the degree until he was gone.
Yeah, I mean, I try to explain the magnitude of him, because I worked in the beauty business for so long, and I try to make people understand how much he changed the world. Like when I was a little kid, I would go with my mother to the beauty shop, and they would sit there all day, once a week, and then that gross, dirty hairstyle would have to last for an entire week. And your dad was really the architect who made it okay to do wash and wear and structure. And it was as world changing as anyone in beauty, in my opinion.
I think in those times, in this late 60s and 70s and or even mid 60s, like the timing for that was getting into fashion. I mean, dad always knew like he knew what he didn't want to see, and it's exactly what you just said, right? So he kind of was like, well, how do I do this? How do I create something that's different, that makes people feel alive? That was very much, it was never just about hair for him. It was really how you felt and how you were going to bring that out into the world. Which is huge, right? Absolutely huge. The energy that you end up wearing. So actually, when he did die, I cut my hair, I don't know if you remember, into a really short bob. I was
I
like, I need to
remember.
understand. Yeah, I was like, I have to understand this thing. And I'll tell you, do I regret it? No, because I got to experience it. But would I ever do it again? Probably not. I mean, it's a whole different, sort of energy to wear, a different style of men that look at you, which of course back then I needed to be, I needed men to tell me that I was more than enough. Um, so it was definitely like you wear that haircut, you walk around and you can tell
It,
that like you
it's a
don't,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, you don't mess with her.
Now, I can't remember in the history of motion picture where a below the line person, a hair or makeup or stylist, has ever been name checked in a major motion picture. And that scene in Rosemary's Baby
Rosemary's Baby.
was amazing. And Sinatra, Frank Sinatra, her husband at the time, famously hated that haircut and like held a deep grudge for Polanski from it. Did your dad ever opine on that whole experience?
He would like kind of roll his head back and in his fabulous English manner just have a chuck, like a laugh. He thought it was like, and he really still thinks, well, I knew what he thought then when he was here.
Yeah.
Like, why is that something we're talking about? He really, his mind was bigger. Like, this is the things that we talk about in the world. And so he would get a good laugh. And I mean, it was amusing
Which is
to him,
correct. So,
right?
so your father, Vidal Sassoon, grew up in a poor Jewish family on London's East End. How do you think that shaped his drive and work ethic to succeed?
Huh. Well, not just poor. We're talking nothing. So my grandmother and grandfather, who I never met him, had to put dad into an orphanage when he was 5. He was 5.
Oh my
Um,
God.
because the war was going on and they couldn't take care of him. They couldn't afford to take care of their kids, so they wanted him to be safe. Dad left the orphanage, ran to his dad's. I guess they weren't together, and his father brought him right back, and he never saw him again. Um,
Wow.
and my grandmother would visit him once a month, and his brother. And how did it shape? I mean, it shaped my dad. Oh, not an easy life, right? And that's his story. And so many people like, come on, it's sort of it's stories, right? He's no different in ways, but how did it shape who he is? I mean, it gave him drive, it gave him discipline, he took things very it, it it's not going to be this way, so how am I going to make it different? And he didn't stop until he made it different. um so clearly, with a lot of discipline and a lot of sort of obedience to himself, and he was spiritually had a higher power. I would now call it God. You know, he would find God in nature. So, I think with tuning in and taking action, Dad got shit done every day, all
Yeah.
day, and
Yeah,
didn't stop.
his story reminds me of the last line in Gone with the Wind, as God is my witness, I'll never go hungry again.
Oh, that's beautiful. That that's really beautiful. And just like the rest of us, we'd be at lunch and, Don, do you think people will remember me for the work I've done? And I'm like, Dad, um, I think so, but as I'm realizing this, these younger generations, if you're 35 and under, you don't know who he is. Um, which says a lot for the history of hair and what they're teaching these kids in the industry. But that's a whole different
But
conversation.
it's not just hair. My ex-girlfriend, who was considerably younger than me, couldn't identify the difference AB listening between Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin. Like generations forget
Well,
very quickly forget what came before them.
I don't know if that's her problem or your problem.
Probably a bit of both, but I'm done raising
Right, get it.
girlfriends.
I
That was
love
a
it. There you
different
go.
era of my life. So let's jump in. You brought up God. Your father was obviously Jewish. Your mother Beverly was raised Catholic. You wear crosses. Were you raised with faith?
I do have the cross and the chai. Um,
Oh, nice. Little
was I
surf and
raised
turf.
and yeah, and I have my Jewish star in, I have my tattoos. I've got it all. I've got them all. Um, was I raised, we would do, Friday night Shabbat and not in the way that it was demanded or anything was this is how you're going to be. My dad sort of wanted to give us the opportunity, but steered the boat. Tried to steer the boat because I remember at a young age I actually um went to church just because I found something there. And it wasn't the religion, but I did find a connection there. God. And I bought a cross and my dad almost disowned me. No, for real. And I was like, and I couldn't quite understand. And then I got into the mindset of like, okay, but we're just one. Like, this is all about love. This is like, why is
Yeah.
there where I try to understand the divides? And so as I wear my cross, I might have people freak out because they don't understand. And I'm like, but I'm not religious. I think
Yeah.
in all these different religions, we're searching for the same damn thing. We just
It-
like to connect. And the cross really is like, it's not my cross to carry. And that reminds me, it's not my cross to carry. And if Jesus was a man, that's the man I want to be friends with. That's the man I want to walk hand in hand and by and like, he's my homie. Hey, listen, I need some advice.
yeah, look, I'm with you. I've always said that I'm a big fan of all of Christ's teachings. I just feel like he had the world's worst sales reps back then, and still has some pretty lousy ones. And I go to church
He
from
does
time to
have some
time.
mouth.
Yeah,
And
like
it feels good, right?
yeah, I'll always tag along. I've been to church in the past 2 years more than I've been to synagogue, because someone's like, "Hey, do you want to come to church?" And I'm like, I will go literally anywhere where there's words of
I'm
inspiration, where there's
amen.
positivity, and someone looks me in the eye and shakes my hand and says, "Peace be with you." That's a good day for me, you know. And I'm
I'll
a
do that
proud
for you anytime.
yeah, and I'm a proud Jew, but like I think the
Yeah.
fundamental tenets of all religion is tolerance and decency and kindness, and that's what I'm
Right.
after. And it's fun. I went with a mutual friend of ours who I won't name to the Good
Yeah.
Shepherd Catholic Church in Beverly Hills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I've been there.
yeah, and yeah, I think
Yeah.
I think the first time I was there, anecdotally, was for Frank Sinatra's funeral. But anyway, I go there and I get clocked somehow. So like before the service, this nun comes over and
There's a
she
Jew in
goes,
the house.
no, she goes, "You're new." I said, "I am, sister." And she says, "Are you Catholic?" And I said, "I'm Catholic curious." And and then I watched the sermon, and then the ushers are waving everyone to take Holy Communion at the end, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And they were like, no, just go. And I was just like, no, I wasn't baptized. I wasn't confirmed. It's not right. I'm not going to take Holy Communion. And they said, well, just get in the line, and when you get up there, do this. So I was like, all right, I'll do that. So I do that, and then we're
Okay.
hanging out afterward, and then the priest comes up to me, and he says, hey, I haven't met you before. And I was like, nice to meet you. And he says, were you raised with faith? And I said, I was. And he said, which one? And I said, I'll give you a hint. I'm the closest blood relative to Christ in this building, guaranteed.
That's right, baby. That's
And he
right.
goes, and he said, we love the Jews. We love the Jews. So that was
Yeah.
kind of funny.
Yeah. I love that. No, I love that. I love that story. The see, and you're talking about Catholics like that. That's a very interesting, concept Catholicism. Um, I mean, if I had to label that's the problem. It's all these damn labels. Like, can't we just all be seeking love and the Christ-like consciousness, you
Yeah,
know?
and again, look, I will never understand the distinctions of every different flavor of Christianity, but obviously they were all birthed out of someone else's kind of augmentation or changing of course of the original scriptures, I guess.
It's so interesting. And I do read the Bible not because I'm religious, but because it's I mean, it, genius. Like whatever. It's genius. Why not? And just sort of like understand it. And I mean, what book has, more meaning than that one?
Yeah, and
Or
they're the
it's
same basic rules. Don't kill, don't lie, don't steal,
don't
don't f your
don't
neighbor's
fuck your
wife.
neighbor.
Yeah.
So you say F, I'm like,
Ah,
yeah, like
ah.
come on, let's just be, yeah. It's great. I mean, I love it. And I wish if we all just really just I've had some interactions with in my breath work and meditations with God, this God consciousness that's just literally a pure energy light. You could call it white, yellowish if you need to label it a little color, but like the feeling, literally there was nothing. There was nothing. There's no attachment, no anything to anyone, no person, not even my body, nothing. It was pure joy and this essence like of this of love and peace. And I was like, don't take me back, please. And that thing just like go back and be that which you are experiencing now. And that's not easy, right? It's not easy, but I
No,
know that it exists because I experienced it. So I was like, all right, whatever that is, I'm in.
got you.
So
So
yeah.
let's jump into the second act if we could. What was your first introduction to alcohol and drugs?
Oh shit. Well, I don't want to throw my mom under the bus. Me personally, or
Look, this is
or
about
with other
authenticity.
people.
Okay, what was your first when was your first drink and what was it?
Oh, so I was 15. I was with Alex Savant and all my little, beboppy blondes from Beverly, and we were going out to Off the Wall, and somehow we got wasted and ended up at Off the Wall. And someone was buying me another drink. I don't know how it all. And Alex is like, "What are you doing? You're going to be just like your mother and your sister." And I was like, "Oh shit." You might be right, but I don't care because I feel really fucking good right now. And then it was just on. I just felt good. It was fun. It
What
was
was
easy.
what
It was
was it?
like,
What was your first
it
drink?
was
Because
probably,
I very
you
specifically
remember?
remember someone's older brother gave us these Mickey's Big Mouth, and my first taste of alcohol was a Mickey's Big Mouth.
Oh, God. I want to say that it was like a vodka cranberry, but I could be very wrong.
Okay,
But, you know, that
all
was
right,
that was the memory of that night.
all right. Then walk me through the progression. Like when did how out of hand did alcohol become? Then when did drugs enter the picture? And just kind of
But
take me through
let's
it step by step.
okay, but like so it didn't start with alcohol, right? The disease of addiction started with fantasy. Sorry, that's this white horse and this man on top of it who was stunning. And I don't know if he had the hair, which I doubt he did. He was coming to save me. He was going to get me out of that like house with all the chaos and the people. He was my peace. So I fucking fantasized about him and dreamt about this situation for this man to come save me. And he never did, right? He never did. So then then I found food and I was like, oh, this feels safe. I like this. And so you didn't want to overeat in my house. Not that my dad would do anything, but there was like walking on eggshells, right? Like if you don't look good, we don't look good type thing. But I liked food. It made me feel safe. And so I had to start to balance that. So the man didn't come. The food was doing its job, but I had to hide it, right? And then at this age that night, I found alcohol, and I was like, oh, I don't give a fuck. Excuse my language about food, about men, about I'm on top of the world. It's freedom now. And then I could go get the guy myself. He didn't have to come save me. I'm gonna go get him if I'm a little, intoxicated. So then it turns into a bigger problem, right? The alcohol was just the solution, which I thought that it was like, okay, so now I'm using the alcohol to go get the man. If the man didn't turn up by the end of the night, I'm starving, I'm overeating. I wake up the next day, right? So then it turns into exercise. I have to look a certain way for these men, right? I have to look away to be a Sassoon. I have to have a body that explains like, oh, if you don't look good, we don't look good. Like I had to keep up with everything that we grew up with. So then it would turn into this idea of exercise, constant exercise. I mean, it was always something than just sitting down, shutting my mouth, tuning in, and finding peace. So it was like alcohol was part of the chaos, but it wasn't the only chaos. And then I also, the money. The money was going to get me the bag or the shoes or the car that I needed to feel better or the Cartier love bracelet. Like you name it, I'm going to find it and make that thing on the outside of me make me feel better. So alcohol was just one of them. And it made me act stupid and it made me do dumb things and it made me sleep with people I probably wouldn't have, definitely wouldn't have. And it made me, it allowed me, it didn't make me. It allowed me to, think in a way that I thought that that was going to save me. When the truth is, it's all a lie. The whole thing was a lie. Welcome here. You're 50 years old and your whole life has been a lie. Now what?
Well, well, I think that whole addict gene tends to be all encompassing, and everybody, like I asked a friend of mine who's just had her 15th sober birthday, and I said,
Yeah.
"What was you?" Because I always like to ask people what their drug of choice was, because it usually tells a lot about their personality. Like coke heads are very different than H heads
Meth.
or meth heads. Like they're all very different personality types.
Yeah, for sure.
And her answer was oblivion. So she was like, it was everything. It was alcohol, it was coke, it was downers, it was sex, it was all of it was just fifth gear, but not everyone's like that. So in your in
Right.
your recovery, in your observation, have you learned to compartmentalize those people or those things? And do you know
As
uh
far as me and like how I go across the board with all this, or
well, with you, but also how what you've observed, because you're a force in the recovery world.
I mean, yes, I see it. Even from the meetings I go to, right? Like I have my AA crowd and they're sort of like I don't want to use the word polished because that's not the case, but they're like, you know, I would say like maybe, growing up in Beverly Hills, let's just say. And then I go over here to this meeting and I call them like, oh, I'm going to go visit my misfits. And that would be like going over to the valley and hanging out with like people at, Taft. And then I go to, it's like I'm totally, whoever's listening and I'm fucking around, but you get it, right? It makes sense. But then I like, I have to humble myself and just be present because I am that, I am that, I am that, I am that. And yet I'm none of those things. I am literally when I'm still that moment I told you about. That's what I am. That's who I am. And then my mind, I'm the observer of it all and I become it. Like that's a bunch of crap. So, I mean, yeah, I can see it all for kind of, in my actions, which is the greatest. And so I'm making one day at a time a lot of there's a lot of growth happening and it's painful and it's the best thing ever. I used to call it like, oh, I'm sad, it's this, it's that. And I'm like, you know what? This is amazing. I feel great. Meanwhile, it's like ripping my heart open or my mind's having to like completely like reboot. And that's a painful process, right? I think Um,
Yeah.
it's just and then again, it's like, what are we doing? Right? Like literally, what are we doing? We went, it's like a joke, but that's the human experience. And that's what we've been giving. So that's where we need to find gratitude for all these things and these experiences and this conversation and growing up Sassoon and becoming an addict and da 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 da, which none of it's really like really real. But it's a human experience and I get to have it for as long as I get to have it and then gone, gone, gone.
Okay, so
Fascinating to me.
I can't recall all the sort of peaks and valleys of your recovery. So when did you have sobriety for the first time? How many, if any, relapses, and just that journey?
I think in the beginning I was trying to back in 20, probably 10-ish or before that. I knew I always knew I had a problem. I knew I had a problem. I watched my mom, I watched my sister. I'm not, completely like, oh, I don't have a problem. I'm not going to hang out with those people. I'm like, I have a problem. Those are my people. And when I'm ready, I'll show up. I'm not ready. Like, I'm just not ready. But I knew that was my home. And I thought it was cool. I thought my sister and all, her sober friends, which we know a lot of them, were cool. Yeah, I am you, you are me. but fuck if I'm going to be sober right now. I didn't know how to live life without it. So it wasn't, I was messing around with it. And then my father passed in 2012. And that was an ouchie, ouchie, ouchie. And I knew I couldn't carry on. Um, much more because I was internally spiritually dying. On the outside, it kind of looked like I had it all together. I had businesses and people helping. That was the thing. I had these unsigned contracts with God that like he was just going to take care of, like it was magically going to happen. I didn't understand the concept of discipline and real hard work. So I'd have a business and I'd pay everyone else to do my job and I'd show up. Oh, thanks for showing up. Like, it didn't quite make sense for me. Um, and then the first sobriety, I got 9.5 years out of not drinking. I didn't get 9.5 years out of doing the work. I didn't even do the 12 steps. It's a 12-step program. I would go
Yeah.
to meetings and I'd be social and I'd look for my next victim, man. Um, and I just made it through without drinking until one day in 20, what do we know? 2.5 years ago, I was like, oh, no, almost 4 years ago, I decided like, I'm different. And I'm going to drink and I'm okay with this. And I'm going to call everyone I know, even my kids. Well, meanwhile, they've never seen me, drunk. And everyone had signed off on my bullshit. But I wasn't going to meetings. So I didn't call anyone in the program. And I didn't call two of my best friends because I knew what they would tell me. And I
So the
drank. And
yeah.
yeah, what?
No, no, no. I was just thinking as you're telling me this story, it's like a bunch of memories are flooding back. So I'd never met anyone. I'm from the suburbs of Chicago. Everybody drank, everybody did drugs, but I'm trying not to get my advertising blocked with my language.
No, don't. I'll do it for
But
you. Don't do it.
yeah, we'll bleep. But it wasn't until shortly after I met you that I met my first. So I met you at our friend George Dallinger's house, and I didn't have a place to live
Jorge.
yet. I was new here, so I was like crashing at George's, and then I used to take his dogs to the Laurel Canyon Dog Park to just try to be a gracious guest. And there I was picked up by who would become my first LA girlfriend, who was like full program. Uh, but also big mansion with gates on two streets. And I was just like, well, I do need a place to live, and she's kind of hot.
I won't
So
ask you the name, but I think I know, but we'll
I,
tell me
I'm
later.
I'm
Yeah.
sure you know her, but
Uh-huh.
I was suddenly being taken to AA meetings every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, and it was quite shocking. And I'm like new to LA in the first place, and next thing I'm holding like sweaty, clammy hands of famous people, and I was like, what is
Yeah.
going on here?
Yeah.
And I remember she said something to me. She's like, I love AA and I'd be dead without it. But the problem with this program for me is I have to be very careful about which meetings I go to, because there are people that you will meet in this program that you should never in your entire life meet. Like there are people that have spent most of their lives in prison. Like you don't need to know these people, and it's tricky.
I love those people. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think it's great. And LA, of course, we have the best recovery. So it's like it's great. It's great. It's really honestly like what a gift.
Okay, I'm going to want to talk about your business and stuff, but I do want to just one question about your sister. So you lost your sister Katya Sassoon when she was just 33 to drugs. Tell me what that did to you, to your family, and what do you most remember about Kat?
Oh, Kat, she was larger than life. I'll start with that. This woman was like, she walked into a room and she showed up like an hour before and didn't leave till like 4 hours later, type thing. And I mean her spirit. Um, so kind, so giving, loved the underdog, loved the greatest person, and yet she commanded the room. She commanded everything, in her own way. And she made a best friend out of everyone. She was my sister, excuse my language, was really, really, really an awesome, crazy uh, human being, and she was tortured, clearly. Um, I think at the age of like 12 or 13, I remember we were living in one of the houses in Beverly Hills, and she went to the parks along Santa Monica, right? Like,
Yeah.
not unsafe, technically, back then. And she came home and she had all these scratches on her face and this and that. And all I remember was like she was claiming that something happened and some man and blah, 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 blah. And I don't know the truth or not the truth, but that was the first time I realized like what's going on with my sister? Like what? I didn't understand. And clearly things just progressively got worse in her life. I mean, she lived in 33 years, a lifetime and then some of everything you could possibly imagine. Um, so it was exhausting. It was sad. It was happy. She'd always shoot herself in the foot. She never could find her, she was great at so many things. And like the minute she'd get like ahead, way fall back down. Like it was consistent. She never could break the habit of being herself. She never could find a new loop to live. And when she did, sure enough, one thing triggered her and, um, but she was amazing. And yeah, that day, so it was New Year's Day and she didn't wake up. Um, and I got the call. I was at my girlfriend's house and she's like, I don't know why Dana kept telling me, call your mom, call your mom. And of course I was hungover and I'm like, why? Leave me alone. Like, why do I have to call my mom? And so back then we had answering machines. And I checked my machine. First of all, the day before my sister had said, what are you doing on New Year's? And before it got to the end of the message, I erased it. Because I would bring her out and she was a liability all the time. She's like pregnant, smoking. She's in the corner with this guy. She's meeting her ex-husband. Anything and everything went. So on New Year's, I'm not going to take you out with me. I'm out for myself at this point, right? And I
Sure.
erased the message. And the next morning, sure enough, she didn't wake up. Um, and my mom we were all, deep down underneath all of the craziness. Oh my God, I haven't cried about this in so long. Um, you just knew that day was coming. It was just when. So, and then she had 9 lives. She had died 9 times, literally 9 times, and they brought her back. So it was like, why was this any different? And it was. And so I think the shock of that, like, oh shit, it really happened. She's gone. Like, yeah, you just couldn't make sense of it. And I don't know that I ever really grieved her. So these feelings right now in my recovery that are coming up, I'm very grateful for. So thank you, because I get to see a different side of it. Um, and I kind of just pulled my pants up the best I could as far as like, okay, we're gonna get through this. Um, and physically felt it, not mindfully, right? So I would just go through the motions, but I could, like, my stomach started to do things and all these things started to happen, but I was just shoving down the emotion. I couldn't really get to the fact, oh shit, my sister just died of drugs and alcohol. Like, what does that mean? Um, yeah, my dad, of course, my parents were just, my mom came home that night she lived in Florida, so she left New Year's Eve to go back to Florida, and the next day, that night, she got the call the next day. She came back to LA, and she sure enough showed up at that house drunk as a skunk. She had like
Oh my
17 years
God.
of sobriety, and my whole life I was like, hold on, my mom's wasted again. My sister just died. What the fuck is going on? And I just, I figured out, I found my way through the best I could, the
Yeah.
best I could. She also had 3 kids, I mean, had I known then what I know now, I would have stepped in and really sort of been a better aunt. But I was just trying to get through it, Yeah.
And you mentioned earlier your brother David. Tell me about that story.
Ah, my brother David. I knew he had a problem. I knew he had, well, yeah. I didn't this goes back to something very interesting. Like, right, my brother David was adopted when I was 1, and he was a very large boy. He also was half black, half white, which doesn't matter to me, but it did to him, right? He was born, he
Yeah.
came into the Sassoon family. It was heavy. Like, you knew my problems. If you don't look good, we don't look good. Be better, 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 better. Well, Dave was big, big, and he was also half black. And he was in an orphanage, and that's why my dad was like, look, I was in an orphanage, so I'm going to go adopt a boy who has less than and is, right, I'm going to do something for someone else. Great. Well, Dave never could really kind of get into like the idea that dad was like, you better show up and shape up, because he's going to provide, but you're going to follow his rules, right? He's going to give you everything he never got, but you better do what he says. And I get it. I totally get it. but my brother couldn't quite handle it. So he turned to marijuana at a young age. He turned to food first because he was big. And then there was a time where my dad came to me and said, "Hey, can you help me with your brother?" Because Dave and I were like this. "Can you help me with your brother? I want to get him the gastric bypass." And I said, "Oh my God," like in my mind, I'm like, "That's a great gift." Like,
Sure.
whoa, he's going to be skinny. He's going to feel good. No, this surgery changed this poor boy's life. He went the total other way. And I think he couldn't grasp it. And years like went by, and he just turned to everything outside himself to make himself feel better. And he couldn't even eat to make himself feel better anymore. So, Dave, another Dave and Kat were a lot alike. Great fucking guy. Too smart for his own good. Learn how to keep your mouth shut. And I thought I knew he wasn't sober, and I knew that I was living like I'm going to get that call maybe, but he has another sobriety in him. He's working, but maybe they're enabling him. There was so much cloud, so much smoke. If I would have like stopped the insanity and gotten to the truth, or opened my mouth, if I only knew then, what I know now, and kind of pushed forward. But then again, that's not my job, right? That's not my cross to carry. And I did the
No.
best I could for what I knew then. And yeah, that call came through one night, and sure enough, again, these drugs and alcohol will take you down faster than you know what to do with yourself.
Yeah, rich, poor, famous,
Yeah.
not. It chooses proportionally equally. Because I have a lot of people saying, "Why are there so many effed up people in Hollywood?" And I say, "Listen to me. There's no more effed up people in Hollywood than there is anywhere else. Go to West Virginia. It's like
Yeah.
fentanyl capital of the world." And
Right?
the thing is, you just know about Hollywood people being effed up because it's being aired
You
publicly,
hear it
because they're public
exactly.
figures. But it's like, everywhere where drugs and alcohol are accessible, there's going to be problems. Like, there's
Everywhere.
probably, except like North Korea, like places where they just
Well,
don't have
right.
anything,
R-
or
Right.
that
Well,
we even know
yeah.
about. But they're all
Exactly.
probably drinking a lot of alcohol there. Um, so
Something,
so
right? That's a
so
human condition, I'm convinced.
yeah.
Yes.
Look, when we were kids, we spun around in circles till we got dizzy and fell on our asses. Like, that's a child's way of getting high. We all get high.
But also, and then when we were kids, they stick a pacifier in our mouth to just stop it all, right? Here, soothe yourself with this. Don't tell me that doesn't start a big problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and iPads do the same thing. It shuts them up,
Right?
but it also
Yeah,
melts their
yeah,
brains.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so let's fast
It's
forward a little bit. The last time you and I shot together, when you were
Oh, that was
wearing
amazing, Scott.
when
Nothing.
you were wearing nothing but mascara, and it was a beautiful evening. And you looked gorgeous. I had asked
Uh,
you about your
you say that
experience
to
on
all your naked women.
different times, different times.
Yeah, okay.
God,
Yeah.
can you imagine? I could never do anything like that again. Like, I would never do a photo shoot of a naked woman alone without a full crew ever again, because
Oh, right.
that's just all been
Different.
ruined.
Right. Yeah. And that was a beautiful, raw, intense moment for all of us, I would imagine. So good for you.
Yeah,
But yeah, you're right. You were
it
probably
was
the
a lot.
last of the.
That was 5 years of my life. It kind of destroyed me in a lot of ways, but it also gave me a lot of empathy.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. I bet. Wow. I never really asked you. So if it's not now, at some point, I want to sit down with you and get your perspective on that. That's big.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that.
let's have a
Yeah.
proper dinner. So
Yeah.
during that shoot, on break in between shots, I had asked you about your experience on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and you did not seem
Ugh.
that into it. Tell me, yeah,
Ugh.
I tried watching some clips from it, and it's just people screaming, and I was like, I can't hang with this, and I can't. Respect to my network is like mostly Bravo fans, but like,
No, the
it was
Bravo
a lot.
fans, Bravo fans love it, and Bravo fans also love characters like me, and that's a whole world in itself. Like, right? I get it. I get it.
T-
It's a
Talk me
lot.
through the
It's a
experience
lot.
and what you learned from it.
Oh shit. Okay, so the experience was I got a call from Josh Flagg. Josh Flagg says they need someone on the Housewives. I think it should be you. And I'm like, I am not a Bravo girl. I am not. That was the one network. I was trying to go for any other network. I was not a Bravo girl at the time. I mean, I'm still not. Um, it I caved. I was like, you know what? Here, it's not my cross to carry. This is why I wear it. I thought I could bring light to a dark space. I really thought that I could be someone with a lot of light and charisma and love in a very dark space. And clearly, I couldn't. I did manage to sort of get in ways, and those people still reach out to me, and we still talk about recovery, and we still talk about like truths, and we still talk about hugs, and we still like get into these things that I left there. But the truth is, that's that is not, you know, that's bigger than people could do. You gotta have I thought that I'd get in there and maybe this could help my brand. What was my brand? I should have been very clear about that, right? I was in exercise and fitness. And here I am going on you have to, I let myself get thrown in without sort of realizing what was going on. And I thought there's no way that it could be, something different than the honesty that I bring to the camera. Well, clearly I'm wrong. It was difficult. It was, and the reason why is because I didn't have the tools I have today. So when I showed up and you have like personalities over your principles, my principles weren't set, right? So I had all these women coming at me in different ways. And then you mix alcohol in it, and then you mix drama and money in it. You're fucked. Don't do
Yeah.
it. That's a recipe
Well,
for disaster. So
well,
I didn't know how to show up properly
how
other
much were
than,
these
yeah.
how much of these dramas were natural, just putting people together, and how much of them were constructed by these sort of architects of the show?
Well, clearly, it's a very, very, very well-oiled machine, and they start a season and they kind of pick it and design it by design, and then they have all these like three different sort of cameras going around, and what's going on here is going on here, and then they bring it together, and then they say to your mind, "Do you remember when?" So you start to feed into it, and here you're playing off these personalities, and so it starts to grow and grow and grow and grow, and then you're like, I don't even know what's going on or the truth. So I never really engaged. And they would come up to me and say, I see what you want to say. It's in your eyes. The camera's reading it. And I said, yes, but it's very inappropriate and I'm not going to do it. And they would literally say, but that's why we hired you. And I'd say, I'm sorry. My father didn't raise me like this. I cannot do it. And it wasn't until like my final last scene, something bigger than me came down. And I'm not kidding. Like, this came out of me. It was like something ripped out of my soul and it was all directed at someone and I felt free, which
What was it?
clearly it could be. It was Lisa Renna. She abused me, or for the purposes of this show, she really didn't. But like, if you're going to buy into this, it was abusive, right? And all of a sudden, like, I'm going to call it my higher power just went, shoo, and I got a download and I literally kicked the camera guy. I go, I'm going in. Like, I would never say something like that. I'm like, I'm going in. And I walked up to her and she's like, well. And I just went up I lost it on her. I'm like, I gave you everything. I gave you my heart. Like I don't even know. The room at Lisa's house, you could hear a pin drop. Like I lost it. And I was kind of cocooning out of this myself. And I ran. I just ran. I ran and I was like, I'm done. I'm out. I can't do this. But and that's what they do every scene to each other with a little bit of, liquid courage, which isn't in that. But that's how they create it. And you feed off that energy, you get into it. And I was like, whoa, this is a mind fuck. I don't think at that moment,
But
because
are
it was
they
the end of the
creating the
season.
toxicity for showmanship, or is this naturally occurring? Just putting rats on
I,
meth in a cage together.
You tell me, you put a bunch of women who are getting paid with a bunch of alcohol and a bunch of fucking fashion and looking good and who's better and who's this and insecurities. You mix all this in a pot and you tell me what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's so Josh Flagg is to blame for this. It's funny. He was just
Yes,
at
you know what?
we were just at the same table at a wedding, at Melissa Rivers' wedding. We were at the same table.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Well,
like Josh.
and then Josh at his wedding, he fucking, excuse my language, it stuck me at a table with all the housewives. I'm like, Josh, I swear I am gonna get him back one day. I love him though. Yeah, he's great. He's great. Good for him. You
He
know what I mean?
he
Like, good for him.
He's a classic. So I guess at the beginning, what were you hoping to get out of it, and what did they get wrong about you? And
They literally said that I thought I could go in there and be like someone with that sort of new, like that Bethany sort of personality and run these. You can't run these with these women are crazy. Like I am not that woman. I am sort of like, so I then took the back seat because of my sister and all the older kids in the playroom. Remember, I kind of would find my space and watch everyone. I'm like, this is crazy. So I started to shut my mouth. I didn't say a word. I came back from Hong Kong and we were all at the table in Hong Kong. And my son comes back. He goes, "Good job, mom. You didn't say one word." I'm like, you try to say one word with those people. No.
I caught that too, and I was just like, she just does not want to be here.
I
It,
just could. I mean, like it just didn't make sense to me at all.
yeah, it
And I
reminded
really
me.
tried. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, you had to go. So looking back, was it a bad decision, or did you come away enriched in some way? What did you learn from it?
I learned a lot. It just took time. I learned that I want to show up in hoodies and put my hair up and not let someone touch my makeup and hair because I have to show up on a podcast or, be here. Like everywhere you go, you have to be something else. I learned that I want to be myself. I want to be the essence, learn who I am, not show up in someone that I have to be, right? So like I'm so grateful for that year of my life actually because it was painful and you're up against I've learned the most and I can't really say that any of those other women that aren't on the show anymore and I'm not saying that they haven't but from what I see they don't go into the depths of who they are and show up differently or at least they're not sharing that no one's learning from this experience. I mean that's what life is about, right? Like what's
Authenticity.
next,
That's
right?
everything.
Right.
Um,
So no, I'm grateful for that experience, really grateful.
are you in touch with any of your castmates?
I do see, some of the ladies up at the Glen. Actually, I went in, I was with one of my girlfriends and it was, it was Crystal who I actually talked like, she's like, "I need your help." I'm like, "I don't know if you want to come to me for this." She's like, "I really want to get this and I'm on my last audition." And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to give you my experience and you're going to take what you want from it." Right.
Yeah,
So she ended up getting, and Krista was in there and then Rena was in there and then one more. There was like four of us in there and I'm like, should I leave? Should I say? I already gave everyone hugs and kisses, and there's no
no bad blood.
please,
Yeah,
no,
it's just
like that's ridiculous.
it's just showbiz. Like, and that's the thing. Like one time I went on Dr. Drew's show when he was on CNN, and he asked me to come in and opine. And then as I'm sitting in hair and makeup, I realized this is a setup because he knows I hunt sometimes, but I'm not like hunting elephants. I'm like going out with the guys and getting a pheasant and cooking dinner. So
Right.
I'm sitting in the makeup chair, and Dr. Drew comes in and he says, "All right, Scott, I'm warning you. It's going to get rough for you out there." I said, "No, it isn't. I know my talking points." And he goes, "I'm warning you. It's going to get rough for you out there." And I said, "Drew, who is she?" And he goes, "How'd you know it was a she?" I'm like, "It's always a she." And he says, "It's the national spokesperson for PETA." I said, "Oh,
Oh,
good. So I said, "Oh, good. Her bones will be in my stomach by the first commercial break." And Drew says, "Give me some television." So I do, and I
I,
wasn't a jerk, but I felt strong in my belief system. And then when we got to the commercial break, this woman looked like she wanted to murder me, and
right.
I gave her a pat on the knee, and I said, "Listen, this is just television. This is just us yelling at each other. It's not
I
real."
have
I said, "You and I
mad
think could be
respect.
could." I said, "You and I think could be friends in real
Be
life." And she
friends.
goes,
Yeah.
I don't effing think so."
I
And I
don't
was
think.
like, well, "All right, good talk."
See, but that shows the perfect perspective. You went in there like, all right, you know what? I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and I'm going to give him good TV because that's what he asked for.
Yeah,
Right. And you were
but
able
I'm
to
also
do that.
principled. I didn't say anything I didn't believe in, but I also know that
Right. You kept
it's
it within. Right.
yeah, there was
Right.
conflict. Conflict was the desire. That's why they put us together, and we didn't disagree with each other. But I don't hold any grudges. It's like I disagree with lots of people every day.
I think, I mean, and I like that but back then I was only wanting to be real. If someone came to me today, would I do it? Probably not. But if they came to you and said, could you bring some, good conflict within reason, coming from a place of love and, da, 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 maybe. But, but back then I was like, this is crazy and this goes against my morals. I can't bring
Well,
you
yeah,
good TV.
Yeah, there's a big difference between healthy and spirited debate and then just ugliness for its own sake, I
Right,
think.
right, right.
And
Yes.
you're
Well put.
you're probably not the person I should ask to be my date for it, but I'm evidently going to BravoCon to interview people for this show. Uh,
Are you kidding?
but
That would be so fun. I'd be like, fuck. No, I'm kidding. Get
come with,
out of here. Where,
tag
but is it
along.
here? Aren't they? Where is it now?
Vegas, November 14th, 15th, and 16th. Four
That's
seasons.
so funny. So depending, because I'm a chump and Jeff Lewis, right? And so Kelly and I are always like, he's like, I'm like, why don't we ever go BravoCon? Like, what the fuck? Why is it just, we joke around and I'm like, I'm coming. I'm doing this one year. You're like,
Well,
yeah,
if you want to be my plus one, you're welcome to join.
I love you.
All right, so let's jump into business. You've in the long time I've known you, the 31 years I've known you, you've had a number of businesses, all high profile, all well reviewed. The beauty salon, Eden by Eden Sassoon, where I used to pop in and say hello.
That
Hello,
was fun.
your Pilates studios, just to name a couple. What did you learn about the challenges of brick and mortar retail?
I've learned that unless you're going to do majority of the work yourself, don't do it. Um, my dad always taught me to start from the bottom and work your way up. For some reason, I got in on the top and paid other people to start on the bottom and work their way up. That's just not the way to run a business at all. I mean, it's a way to lose a lot of money. And the businesses did do, they did well as far as like I kept the 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 energy alive and like people wanted to be there and it was a good name and there's nothing bad you could say about them. But you want to check my bank account? Right? Like I know what not to do. Um, eh, and now the time's so different that I'm actually confused. I'm actually confused. Like, how do you run a successful business today? Back then I didn't do it. I had a team.
Especially retail. Like I was talking to, our friend Lisa Klein. Remember Lisa?
Are you kidding? I love Lisa Klein.
Okay,
Love. Oh, the three of us have to go.
she's one of my best friends. We should all hang. And
Yes.
we were talking about just how different it was. I mean, Lisa Klein, to those of you out there that don't know, Lisa put Robertson on the map, and she
So,
had what, six
hello.
stores?
Guess who
Yeah.
worked at Lisa Klein?
I didn't know
Yours
that.
truly. Yeah, ask Lisa. She will. Oh, we have history. History. It's so fun. I
We
worked
were
for Lisa.
talking about it, she was saying like, sometimes I think about doing this again, and I was like, people don't do that anymore. People, like, you went to places like that to be styled by someone. It was like the equivalent of having a personal stylist and someone, a curator, and people just buy online right now, and
Yeah.
good enough is good enough, and
But
people
so
wear
she's gonna
$8
do
Chinese dresses.
right. But I think she's gonna do that would be genius if she would just do her online, like I think she's gonna do, and she would actually, she's savvy enough to get the
She's doing
cheap
great. She's
stuff.
consulting. She's still doing
Yeah,
personal styling, which she's amazing at, and
yeah,
then she consults for other people's retail, and sometimes we'll
yeah.
put together things. But we should all go to lunch or dinner or something.
Please, yeah.
Um, so
So I
I,
learned a
I
lot. I learned a lot of what I don't want to do and what I don't know what I need to do. And now I'm in this position, like, who are you again and what do you want to do? What makes you happy? I do work in recovery. I hold groups, I facilitate groups, and I was working full time, which was too much. And I went down to 3 days a week. And then I realized like there was a lot going on in this particular space, as we know, recovery it's a system sometimes. And so I had to leave that one place and I had a lot of time off and I started thinking like, what's next? Who am I when it comes to work? What do I want to do? Where would I put my energy for the human exchange of like I'm going to put my energy out and there's going to be a financial gain. What do I want to do? I know I have a voice. I know that like I share a lot with people, whether it's recovery or just like how our mind thinks and how we can get by just for today, whether it's women in their 50s or kids who are struggling with certain thing or girls who want to take out their all the stuff, right? All the shit, death, all of it, you name it. I'm willing to go there with people. So I'm kind of like I'm building a community based around this like messy, sexy, real idea of like possibly starting another podcast because I did the recovery one. But then
yeah.
I'm just sort of like throwing things out there. But where do I feel the most alive? And clearly it's with when I'm in conversation with people and I'm making a difference. So I'm in a state of like, how do I do all this? What is it? Do I open another gym? I love fitness. I go to the gym and it's my happy place. But then how do I do wellness on a whole? You know what I mean? And how do you bring it all together? Thank God that I can have these problems and not have to go to a 9 to 5 job every single day and do what I hate. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm blessed and grateful, but then it's also like, oh, like like how, how do I do it?
So where are you at right now? Are you leaning in any particular direction? Or are you still in the formulation stage?
I'm studying. I actually am getting my certificate for being a wellness coach, and I'm going to get my training certificate because that was the first thing in my life. I was working at all these private gyms. I even called my first boss ever. He has another gym, and I was like, "We got to talk." He's like, "Get your ass over here. It's about time." So I'm sort of just kind of putting myself back together. I'm back. I am working in recovery, leading groups, and when I leave there, I'm on top of the world. Like God's in me. I'm like, "Okay, I hear you, God. I'll keep showing up." You know. So I don't know. I know that it's making a difference. You know, I know that if I had none of this stuff in the world, who cares? If I could, this is why I love it's not my cross to carry. Like, I would walk with Jesus. I would. I'd be like, what do you need me to do, dude? I'll go do it. Where do you want me? Okay, great. Who do you want me to talk to? You want me to wash his feet? Like, that's who I am. And I think you know that about me.
Yeah.
That's where I feel alive and happy. So I'm trying to figure it out with being, human and living in Los Angeles and having 2 children, and not that have a problem with things, but I do that essence of a fear of financial future, which is one of my own problems. It comes up, but that's not what it's about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember this just popped into my head. So I remember a number of years ago, I can't remember how many, you hit me up and you were like, you need to tell all your women friends to take out their breast implants. And I said, listen, Eden, if there's one thing I've learned in this world is I don't tell women what to do with their bodies. And I know you, and I was just like, I'm all out. You don't, as a straight white man, you don't tell women what to do with their bodies. But I remember you were very outspoken on the
Yeah.
explant movement. What made you remove your breast implants? Did you have complications, and where did that passion come from?
I was getting sick. So another thing, clearly you can tell in my conversation, there's things that like come to me, and I believe those are like God shots, and those are moments that we tap into something deeper. And so for some reason, I was going to check my heart because I was in fear because my dad had quadruple bypass, and so my heart was great. And all of a sudden, I'm walking down on 3rd Street by Cedars, and whoosh, take your implants out now. You put them in 3 different times. Your body's rejecting them. What are you doing? So I literally picked up my phone. I called the doctor and I was like, I need these out. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I need you to take them out now. And it was right around Christmas. And he's like, well, I actually have an opening next Friday. And I was like, I need them out. And that was it. That was the beginning of,
So you didn't have an autoimmune disease? You didn't have something like a
no,
leak?
no, I was sick. I had depression, anxiety, a pain in my necks all the time, shooting pains going down my arms, you name it. Things were going on and I just couldn't figure it out. And I kept changing my implants, thinking that like that was the answer. No, it
And
wasn't.
did that fix it when you finally did take them out? Did those
It
other issues go
started,
away?
yep. The
Wow.
inflammation went down. I had other issues that I had to work through that were like went down to my ankle and my knees. And then of course some other there's still a bit in there, right? Because I took one of these vaccines that everyone overdoses on, and I got sick. I got sick. My every joint in my body swelled up, and for 8 months I was sick. So I was never going to put another vaccine, any type, in my body because some sort of autoimmune thing goes on inside of me, and I'm not good with that. So I know my limits. I know how to sort of stay healthy. I also have a team of Eastern medical people that really help me to keep inflammation down. I know peptides and vitamins, exercise, well, diet, the whole nine, all of it, all of it. But yes, that was the beginning of the journey, and it was amazing. You also had right, we're energy. We're born in this energy, and we kind of create, and then we have a mind, and we have a body. I slit my body open and put silicone over my heart and like my chakras and my energy, and then it was supposed to like function like that. No, my body's like, what are you doing to me? This is awful. Like, and once one thing goes on and like it started to leak and silicone was going on, and it just it till this day, because I do certain work around the scar tissue and stuff, till this day, it's like 9 years I took these things out. It still goes to the same places. because the scar tissue's there. And so, yes, one of my best friends got her removed last Friday. I slept and took care of her all weekend, who you know her very well.
Mhm.
Another girl calls me. I mean, it's consistent. My brother's wife taking him out, like this person's taking him out, that person, and they all call me. I'm like, let's go. We're ready. Who's next? And then I talk to the young girls. I'm like, please talk to me before you think about doing that. Please. Just because it's, and now the doctors that told me like, oh, I don't take them out. I don't do that. I don't do that. Now, of course, what, because you follow the money and now you're realizing that science is all those ones that were saying those things. Sure enough, oh, I'll take them out. Well, yeah, because there's another, 25 in your pocket. Put them in, let's take them out. Sorry, I'm being a little negative, but it's the truth.
Look, here's the thing. Like, I have a number of friends who are plastic surgeons, and
I love them.
I'll come
I
by their
love
office.
them.
I'll flip through their books, their before and afters, and I was like,
You've seen me in
what?
there? Yeah.
I have not seen
Yeah.
you in there, but I flipped through the books and I was like, why is everyone getting such gigantic like porn boobs? And he was just like, that's just what the market wants.
They
That's what
want.
they want. And it's not, and to me, I'm not anti anything. It's your body. Do whatever you want.
Do it. Yeah.
But I always try to encourage the young girls who ask, and I was like, be a French girl, be chic, have cute little
Right?
perky boobs with no bra
Yes.
or a little lace bra with an open button down. It's so much more chic than big knockers,
Right? I agree. I remember
I think.
from our video that you did, I just had these two rock hard, and they weren't even that big, but still they were just like these two things. And it was
I th-
so
I
much
mean
more
I th-
uncomfortable. You thought they were
I
okay, they
mean
were really uncomfortable.
I thought they were really nice. I thought it was a
Yeah.
good job.
Yeah.
But to
Thanks.
me, like you always had the best rear end, so what do you need both for, really?
I love you. It's as I get older, I'm trying to pick that back up. Thank you for reminding me. I'll do my squats tomorrow for you.
No, you're well known for your caboose.
I love you.
Anyway, coming back. So wrapping up, what does peace look like for you now, Eden?
Oh, Scott, peace is like waking up and just, I mean, literally, I get into prayer and breath work, and I just find the stillness within because all this stuff that we fight for, whether it's breasts, cars, relationships, money, good hair, you know, I mean, you name it, like it goes on. Like, even I still am a product of like, why am I doing Botox? Well, I have to keep up because I'm human. This human existence is just like, whew, it's difficult. So I really try to tune into my spirituality. I tune into my God consciousness, and that's where the peace is. Like, really. And then if I can take that God consciousness and tie it into my human existence and figure out how to balance the two together, golden. Golden. But it's not, it's not the easiest job in the world, but it gets easier one day at a time if I'm doing it. And I just today, right? Just today. I can't trip on I forget the past. That's a bunch of like my body's trying to hold on to that and I'm working on releasing
Yeah,
it. Right? So the
yeah.
mind, the mind is a super powerful, can be a trap, right? So
Okay. All right.
it
Well,
and
go ahead.
yeah, no, it's just
Last question, because we haven't talked about it at all. How did motherhood change you, and what's it like now?
my babies. I don't know that it changed me. I think it makes you see more about you that you should look at, and you should go deeper into the work. You know, we do the best we can. I wish that I could go back and change some things because I would probably do it differently now that I'm doing the work um so graciously, and it's not easy. Um, but just really being selfless. Like I finally realized I know what it would be like to die for someone, and I would die for those two. I would give my life in a heartbeat for those two, no matter what. And that I never really got to that level, and that wasn't until recently. Like I would have as you're fighting for it all, but now I would literally die for them. And I I honor that. I honor that. And I'll do whatever I can as a mom to help those two in their struggle, and I
How
wish I
old are
could
they
take it
now?
all away. She's 20 and he's 19 and he's in college and she goes to college art school here.
Well, that went by quick. I don't know
I
why. I was thinking a
know,
much smaller number, but I've known you so long that yeah,
right? No, it
your
really just
your
goes by fast and
your kids are grown ups.
They are. They are. And I don't mom them. Every morning hey, I love you. If there's anything you need, let me know. Like, I'll be of service to you. How can I make anything better? And that's what I'll do. Just like I would do for you if you asked.
I know you would. Well, Eden, I want to thank you for taking time out. I know you're busy, and I appreciate this
No,
conversation as
I
I always
appreciate
appreciate
you.
you.
I appreciate you. Thank you for listening.
No, I learned a lot that I didn't know about you, and it was great. The Bad Decisions podcast was produced by Brock Workman of Herdat Entertainment. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. My book, The Big Book of Bad Decisions, is available for purchase wherever books are sold. A special thanks to today's guest, Eden Sassoon, for joining me. I'm your host, Scott Nathan. Thanks for listening.